New this noon hour, Multnomah County is reporting that 2 people may have died from the heat in Portland after last week's heat wave. This comes as the county just released a report about progress it's made in dealing with excessive heat since June's deadly heat wave. Fox 12's MARILYN Deutsch tells us what county leaders are saying about the extreme heat and how they're trying to save lives.
The report focuses on those 3 straight days in June when temperatures hit 108, 112, and 116, shattering all previous records. Ahead of June's excessive heat wave, few would have thought the metro area could see temperatures that high. Few here had likely experienced killer heat before.
This emergency was very different. First, it was historic.
And it was a wake-up call to county leaders and citizens that much more needed to be done because there would be more excessive heat waves to come. The county did upgrade communications, increase the number of cooling spaces, and increase outreach to those most vulnerable, often the elderly who live alone in social isolation without AC. All that came on the heels of what was then thought to be the waning days of the pandemic.
I've been engaged in emergency response work since 1991, and I have never experienced so many significant overlapping emergencies.
The county usually studies emergencies and many months later issues after-action reports. But in the case of the June heat wave and the 2 heat waves since, leaders decided to make improvements more quickly. And while they say they've done better in the 2 heat waves that followed, they say they still need to be doing more. They are trying to figure out how to get AC to the low income and most vulnerable. Using staff and volunteers, they want to increase training for wellness checks, trying harder to convince people they may need to leave their homes to stay alive. And while the death toll now stands at 62 in Multnomah County, more deaths are being investigated as heat-related. And the county's health officer said some deaths may never be counted. Dr. Jennifer Vine says it's documented that deaths in general go up during heat waves.
The reason for that can be increase in violence, increase in drownings as people flock to bodies of water to stay cool. And then similarly, people who may never be under the medical examiner's jurisdiction, but die of natural causes under the care of a physician, where it may not be clear that the extreme heat is what tipped them into a real health crisis.
The county says it can do a lot on its own with its city and agency partnerships and volunteers, but the big picture is climate change, and the county says they can't fight that alone. The county is still working on its final after-action report and is still waiting for findings from the CDC's study of our heat wave. In Portland, MARILYN Deutsch, Fox 12 Oregon.